The room was silent, save for the faint hum of servers buzzing like a distant hive. Elon Musk sat in his dimly lit office at SpaceX's starbase in Texas, the glow of his laptop casting long shadows across the walls. It was late well past midnight, and most of his team had gone home. The air was heavy with the scent of coffee and the faint metallic tang of electronics. As he scrolled through his emails, a notification popped up. It wasn't from any sender he recognized. The subject line was blank, and the message itself was short, almost cryptic. "They've been lying to us. You're the only one who can uncover the truth. Follow the coordinates." Musk leaned forward, his sharp blue eyes narrowing as he studied the screen. The encryption was unlike anything he'd seen before military grade, perhaps even beyond. His fingers danced across the keyboard, activating his custom AI decryption software. The computer whirred softly, lines of code cascading down the screen like a digital waterfall. Then the coordinates appeared. A remote location in Namibia, Africa. "What the hell is this?" Musk muttered under his breath, his voice low but tinged with curiosity. He rubbed his temples, the weight of the message settling on his shoulders. It wasn't the first time he'd received strange messages, conspiracy theorists, hopeful inventors, even the occasional crackpot. But this felt different. He glanced at the clock, 1:47 a.m. The rational part of his mind told him to ignore it, to delete the message and move on. But the other part, the part that had driven him to build rockets and dream of Mars, whispered something else. What if it's real? He thought, his heart rate quickening. Without another moment's hesitation, Musk grabbed his Jaquita sleek black bomber with a subtle SpaceX logo on the sleeve and headed for the door. He didn't inform his security team. He didn't call anyone. This was something he needed to do alone. The private airstrip outside Starbase was eerily quiet. The only sound the soft crunch of gravel under Musk's boots as he approached his Gulfstream G700. The jet stood like a sleek silver predator under the pale light of the moon, its engines already humming softly as the crew prepared for takeoff. Musk climbed aboard, his mind racing. He hadn't told anyone where he was going, not his team, not his security, not even his closest confidants. This was a mission he needed to undertake alone. As the jet taxied down the runway and lifted into the night sky, he stared out the window, the lights of Texas fading into a sea of darkness below. The flight to Namibia would take hours, but sleep was the last thing on his mind. He opened the encrypted message again, studying the coordinates. What could possibly be waiting for him in the middle of the Namib Desert, and who had sent the message? The jet's interior was luxurious but understated, soft leather seats, polished wood accents, and a faint scent of lavender from the air freshener. Musk leaned back, his fingers tapping restlessly on the armrest. He couldn't shake the feeling that this was bigger than anything he'd ever encountered. The arrival, as the jet descended into a remote airstrip in Namibia, the landscape below came into view, a vast, desolate expanse of sand and rock, stretching as far as the eye could see. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a golden hour glow over the desert, the light bouncing off the dunes in a mesmerizing dance of shadows and highlights. The jet touched down smoothly, kicking up a cloud of dust that swirled in the morning air. Musk stepped out, squinting against the harsh sunlight. He was dressed in the same black bomber jacket, now slightly wrinkled from the flight, and a pair of dark jeans. His boots crunched against the gravel as he surveyed the area. A figure emerged from the haze, a man in his late 60s, wearing a weathered khaki jacket and a wide-brimmed hat. His face was lined with age, but his eyes were sharp, filled with a quiet intensity. "Mr. Musk," the man said, his voice carrying a thick South African accent. "I was hoping you'd come." Musk crossed his arms, his expression guarded. "Who are you?" "Dr. Johan van der Merwe," the man replied, extending a hand. "I used to work with your father, back in the 70s. Musk hesitated before shaking the man's hand. His father, Errol Musk, had always been a complicated figure in his life, brilliant but distant, often shrouded in mystery. "What does my father have to do with this?" Musk asked, his voice low but firm. Van der Merwe's gaze softened, almost melancholic. "Your father was onto something they didn't want the world to know, and now it's up to you to finish what he started." The heat of the Namib Desert was relentless, the sun now high in the sky, casting a harsh, unforgiving light over the landscape. Musk followed Van der Merwe to a beat-up Land Rover parked nearby, its faded green paint peeling under years of exposure to the elements. The interior smelled of dust and old leather, the seats cracked and worn, As they drove deeper into the desert, the terrain grew more rugged, bumpy, uneven, and dotted with jagged rocks. The Land Rover jolted and rattled, but Vandermerwe navigated the rough path with practiced ease. "Your father was a brilliant man," Vandermerwe said, breaking the silence. His voice was calm, but carried a weight of nostalgia. But he was also stubborn. He wouldn't let go of something once he set his mind to it. Musk stared out the window, the endless expanse of sand and rock blurring past. What was he working on? Vandermerwe hesitated, his grip tightening on the steering wheel. A project called Operation Horizon. It was supposed to be about advanced propulsion systems, but it turned into something much bigger. Musk turned to face him, his curiosity piqued. "Bigger how?" The older man sighed, his eyes fixed on the horizon. "We found something out here. Something that wasn't supposed to exist." The facility, after what felt like hours, they arrived at a cluster of low, weathered buildings half buried in the sand. The structures were old, their walls cracked and crumbling, but there was something eerily deliberate about their placement, like they had been designed to blend into the desert. Vandermerwe led Musk inside, the air cool and damp compared to the scorching heat outside. The interior was a maze of dimly lit corridors, the walls lined with rusted pipes and faded diagrams. The atmosphere was gloomy, almost oppressive, as if the weight of decades-old secrets hung in the air. They reached a small room at the end of a hallway, its door creaking loudly as Vandermerwe pushed it open. Inside was a table, and on it sat a rusted metal briefcase, its surface pitted and scarred by time. "This is what your father left behind," Vandermerwe said, his voice barely above a whisper. Musk stepped forward, his heart pounding. He opened the briefcase, revealing a stack of old hard drives and a pile of handwritten notes. The paper was yellowed and brittle, the ink faded but still legible. "What's on these?" Musk asked, his voice tinged with both excitement and apprehension. Vandermerwe's expression grew solemn. "The blueprint for a quantum propulsion system, but that's not all. There's something else, something your father discovered before they silenced him." Musk's eyes narrowed. "Silenced him?" The older man nodded, his face grim. "He found proof that we're not alone in the universe, and they couldn't let that get out." The room felt colder now, the weight of the briefcase's contents pressing down on Musk like a physical force. He carefully lifted one of the hard drives, its surface scratched and worn, and turned it over in his hands. The handwritten notes were filled with equations, diagrams, and cryptic annotations, some in his father's unmistakable handwriting. "This is incredible," Musk murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. The schematics for the quantum propulsion system were unlike anything he'd ever seen. The technology was decades ahead of its time, capable of bending space-time in ways that defied conventional physics. But it was the other files that truly captured his attention. Vandermerwe handed him a small, portable device to connect the hard drives. As the files began to load, the screen flickered to life, displaying a series of classified images. The first few were grainy, taken from what appeared to be a satellite or high-altitude aircraft. They showed an object sleek, metallic, and unmistakably artificial hovering above Earth's atmosphere. Musk's breath caught in his throat. "What is this?" Vandermerwe leaned in, his voice low. "That's what your father found. An unidentified object, not of human design. It was here, in our skies, decades ago." Musk scrolled through more images, each one clearer than the last. The object's design was unlike anything humanity had ever built, smooth, almost organic, with no visible seams or propulsion systems. "This can't be real," Musk said, though the evidence was staring him in the face. "It is," Vandermerwe replied, "and your father paid the price for uncovering it." The implications? Musk's mind raced as he processed the implications. If this technology was real, it could revolutionize space travel, making interstellar journeys possible within a human lifetime. But more importantly, it raised a question that had haunted humanity for centuries. Are we alone? Why was this buried? Musk asked, his voice tinged with frustration. Vandermerwe sighed, his expression heavy with regret. Because the truth is dangerous. It challenges everything we think we know, and there are powerful people who will do anything to keep it hidden. Musk clenched his fists, his determination hardening. Not anymore. The sound of distant engines broke the silence, a low rumble that grew louder with each passing second. Musk and Vandermerwe exchanged a glance, their expressions hardening. "They're here," Vandermerwe said, his voice tense. Musk quickly gathered the hard drives and notes, shoving them into the briefcase. "Who's here?" "The people who don't want this getting out," Vandermerwe replied, already moving toward the door. "We need to go, now." They hurried through the maze of corridors, the sound of approaching vehicles growing louder. The facility's old walls seemed to tremble with the vibrations, dust falling from the ceiling. As they reached the exit, Musk peered through a cracked window. Outside, a convoy of black SUVs was speeding across the desert, kicking up clouds of dust. Armed men in tactical gear spilled out of the vehicles, their movements swift and precise. "This way," Vandermerwe said, leading Musk to a hidden door at the back of the facility. It opened to a narrow tunnel, barely wide enough for one person. The tunnel was dark and damp, the air thick with the scent of mildew. Musk followed Vandermerwe, the briefcase clutched tightly in his hand. The sound of shouting and footsteps echoed behind them, growing closer with every second. The escape. They emerged from the tunnel into the blinding sunlight, the desert stretching out before them. Parked nearby was a Tesla Cybertruck, its angular design standing out against the barren landscape. "Get in," Vandermerwe said, tossing the keys to Musk. Musk slid into the driver's seat, the briefcase resting on the passenger side. Vandermerwe climbed in beside him, his breathing heavy. "Drive, fast." Musk activated the self-driving mode, and the Cybertruck roared to life, its electric engine silent but powerful. The vehicle surged forward, its tires gripping the rough terrain with ease. Behind them, the armed men had reached the tunnel's exit. Shots rang out, bullets ricocheting off the Cybertruck's bulletproof armor. "They're not going to stop," Vandermerwe said, his voice strained. Musk's jaw tightened as he gripped the steering wheel. "Neither are we." The Cybertruck raced across the desert, its tires kicking up clouds of dust that shimmered in the harsh sunlight. Musk's hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, his eyes darting between the rearview mirror and the rugged terrain ahead. The pursuing SUVs were relentless, their engines roaring as they closed the distance. "We need to lose them," Vandermerwe said, his voice tense. Musk nodded, his mind racing. He activated the Cybertruck's off-road navigation system, which mapped out a path through the most treacherous parts of the desert. The vehicle's suspension adjusted seamlessly, handling the rough terrain with ease. As they sped through a narrow canyon, the walls towering on either side, Musk spotted a hidden crevice just ahead. "Hold on," he said, steering the Cybertruck into the narrow opening. The vehicle squeezed through, its sides scraping against the rock walls. Behind them, the SUVs skidded to a halt, unable to follow. "That should buy us some time," Musk said, breathing a sigh of relief. "The safe house." They emerged from the canyon into a secluded valley, where a small, nondescript building stood nestled against the rocks. Vandermerwe directed Musk to pull up beside it. "This is one of our safe houses," he explained as they stepped out of the Cybertruck. "We can regroup here." Inside, the building was sparsely furnished, but equipped with the essential generator, a small kitchen, and a secure communications system. Musk set the briefcase on the table and connected one of the hard drives to a laptop. As the files loaded, Vandermerwe handed him a cup of coffee. "You're going to need this." Musk nodded, his eyes fixed on the screen. The files revealed more than just schematics for the quantum propulsion system. There were video recordings, grainy black and white footage of a secret space station orbiting Earth. The footage showed an alien spacecraft, sleek, metallic, and unlike anything humanity had ever built entering Earth's orbit before vanishing into hyperspace. Musk's heart pounded as he watched. "This is unbelievable." Vandermerwe leaned in, his expression grim. "Your father was right. We're not alone, and they've been here for a long time." The safe house was eerily quiet, the only sound the faint hum of the generator and the occasional beep from the laptop. Musk leaned back in his chair, his mind racing as he processed what he had just seen. The footage of the alien spacecraft played on a loop, its sleek, otherworldly design both mesmerizing and unsettling. Vandermerwe sat across from him, his weathered face etched with concern. "You understand now, don't you? Why they silenced your father. Why they'll do the same to anyone who tries to expose this." Musk nodded slowly, his eyes still fixed on the screen. "This changes everything. If this gets out, it'll shake the world to its core." "Exactly," Vandermerwe said. "And that's why you have a choice to make. You can walk away, leave this buried, and go back to your life. Or you can take this to the world and risk everything." Musk's jaw tightened. He had spent his entire life pushing the boundaries of what humanity thought was possible: electric cars, reusable rockets, missions to Mars. But this was on a whole different level. "If I go public," Musk said, his voice steady, "they'll come after me. They'll deny it. They'll call me a lunatic." Vandermerwe leaned forward, his eyes piercing. "But if you don't, The truth stays buried, and humanity remains in the dark. The tweet? Musk stood up, pacing the small room. His mind was a whirlwind of thought sphere, excitement, determination. He stopped by the window, staring out at the desert landscape bathed in the soft light of the setting sun. Finally, he made his decision. He pulled out his phone, his fingers hovering over the screen. Then, with a deep breath, he began to type. What if the stars are closer than we think? What if we've already been visited? The truth is out there. Number Operation Horizon. He hit send. The reaction. Within minutes, the tweet went viral. News outlets picked it up, and social media exploded with speculation. Scientists, journalists, and conspiracy theorists dissected every word. The hashtag number Operation Horizon began trending worldwide. Musk's phone buzzed incessantly calls, messages, notifications. He ignored them all, his focus now on the next steps. Vander Merwe watched him, a faint smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. You've just opened Pandora's box, you know that? Musk nodded, his expression resolute. It's time the world knew the truth. Within hours of Musk's tweet, every major news outlet was running headlines about number Operation Horizon. Social media was flooded with theories, debates, and outright panic. Governments scrambled to respond, issuing statements that ranged from cautious skepticism to outright denial. The White House held a press conference, with the president's press secretary dismissing Musk's claims as unsubstantiated speculation. But the public wasn't convinced. Protests erupted in major cities, with people demanding transparency. Scientists called for an independent investigation, while conspiracy theorists declared it the beginning of a new era. Musk, meanwhile, was back at SpaceX's starbase in Texas, surrounded by his most trusted engineers and security personnel. The facility was on high alert, with drones patrolling the perimeter and encrypted communications channels buzzing with activity. We've got incoming, one of his engineers said, pointing to a monitor. The screen showed a live feed of a black SUV approaching the facility's gates. Musk's jaw tightened. Who is it? Unknown, the engineer replied. But they're not responding to hails. The intruders. The SUV stopped at the gates, and 4 men in black suits stepped out. They carried no visible weapons, but their demeanor was unmistakably hostile. Elon Musk, one of them called through a megaphone. We need to speak with you, immediately. Musk watched from the control room, his expression grim. Tell them to leave, he said to his security chief. If they don't, we'll consider it a breach. The security chief relayed the message, but the men didn't budge. Instead, they began to approach the gates, their movements deliberate and menacing. Activate the defenses, Musk ordered. The facility's automated security system sprang to life, deploying drones and non-lethal deterrents. The men retreated to their SUV, but it was clear this wasn't over. The cyber attack. As night fell, the facility's servers came under attack. A sophisticated cyber attack targeted the encrypted files Musk had uploaded, attempting to erase them. They're trying to wipe the data, one of the engineers shouted, his fingers flying across the keyboard. Musk leaned over his shoulder, watching as lines of code scrolled across the screen. Can you stop them? We're trying, the engineer replied. But they're good, really good. For hours, the Battle Regida digital war fought in the shadows. Musk's team managed to fend off the attack, but it was a close call. They'll be back, Musk said, his voice low. We need to be ready. The cyber attack had been thwarted, but Musk knew it was only a matter of time before the next wave came. He couldn't fight this battle alone. Sitting in the dimly lit control room, surrounded by the hum of servers and the glow of monitors, he made a decision. We need allies, Musk said, turning to his team. People who've seen what we've seen. People who know the truth. One of his engineers nodded. There are others. Scientists, whistleblowers, even former government officials. They've been silenced, but they're out there. Musk's mind raced. He needed to reach out to those who had encountered fragments of the truth, those who had been ostracized, ridiculed, or worse. The first contact, using encrypted channels, Musk began reaching out to a select group of individuals. The first was Dr. Elena Vasquez, a former NASA astrophysicist who had been forced out of the agency after claiming to have detected anomalous signals from deep space. Elon Musk, she said when she answered the call, her voice tinged with surprise. I never thought I'd hear from you. I need your help, Musk replied. I've uncovered something big, and I can't do this alone. Dr. Vasquez hesitated, then nodded. I'm in. Next was Marcus Reed, a former intelligence officer who had gone rogue after discovering classified files about extraterrestrial encounters. You've got guts, Musk, Reed said, but you're playing with fire. I know, Musk replied, but the truth is worth it. One by one, the group grew scientists, engineers, whistleblowers, all united by a shared belief that humanity deserved to know the truth. The Horizon Initiative, they called themselves the Horizon Initiative, a clandestine organization dedicated to uncovering and sharing the full extent of humanity's contact with extraterrestrial life. Musk stood at the head of the table in a secure conference room, the faces of his new allies illuminated by the soft glow of a holographic display. We're up against powerful forces, Musk said, his voice steady. But together, we can expose the truth. Together, we can change the world. The room was silent, the weight of the moment hanging in the air. Then, one by one, they nodded. The Horizon Initiative was now fully operational, its members working tirelessly to piece together the fragments of truth they had uncovered. Musk, back in his office at SpaceX's Starbase, stared at the holographic display hovering above his desk. It showed a detailed schematic of the quantum propulsion system, its intricate design a testament to the brilliance of his father and the scientists who had worked on Operation Horizon. But the propulsion system was just the beginning. The initiative had also uncovered more evidence of extraterrestrial contact classified documents, eyewitness accounts, and even fragments of alien technology. Each piece of the puzzle brought them closer to the truth, but it also increased the risks. The prototype. Musk stood in the hangar, watching as his engineers assembled the prototype spacecraft. Based on the quantum propulsion schematics, the vessel was unlike anything humanity had ever built. Its sleek, angular design was both futuristic and functional, with a hull made of advanced materials that could withstand the rigors of interstellar travel. We're calling it the Horizon, one of the engineers said, pride evident in his voice. Musk nodded, his eyes fixed on the spacecraft. It's beautiful. But his mind was elsewhere. The Horizon wasn't just a ship, it was a symbol of humanity's potential, of its ability to reach beyond the stars and uncover the truth. The final decision? As the sun set over the Texas desert, Musk stood alone on the observation deck, staring at the horizon. The sky was a canvas of orange and purple, the first stars beginning to twinkle in the twilight. He thought about everything he had learned, the quantum propulsion system, the alien spacecraft, the conspiracy that had silenced his father. He thought about the risks, the sacrifices, the lives that had been lost. But most of all, he thought about the future. The Horizon was ready, the initiative was ready, and so was he. Musk pulled out his phone and sent one final tweet. The stars are closer than we think. The truth is out there, and we're going to find it. Number the horizon. And that's where our story ends. What did you think of this story? Share your emotions in the comments below. We'd love to know what you remember most. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more unforgettable stories. And if you are in the mood for another exciting story, check out our next video. It's waiting for you. Until then, stay curious, get inspired, and keep exploring the stories that make life extraordinary. See you in the next one.